Alright, this is my review for Dark Pictures Anthology, Man of Medan on PS4. I got finished playing this about a couple of weeks ago, literally like 2 days after it came out, or not came out, but when I bought it. Um, so, a few things to say about this game. Looking back at, Until Dawn, the same makers of the game, I think it's Supermassive Games, or I think that's how you say it. Until Dawn was a good game. It was solid. It was actually almost really good at some points. I gave that like an 8 out of 10. So from playing that game, I knew this game was going to be pretty similar because it's the same type of game, you know, where your actions, impact your story. Characters die. So you're basically fighting to survive with characters, and if the character dies, the game progresses. So it's a movie type game where you interact with it. It's like almost like an interactive movie, which I'm actually into. Not all the time, but when it comes to like horror games, I'm definitely into that. So I already knew what the game was about, the gameplay and everything like that. One thing I really knew is that this game was short. This is an anthology. There's going to be 6 of them, so I knew that there's going to be more after this to come with different stories. This is the first one out of the series. Technically, Until Dawn isn't a part of this series. So I knew it was short, but not that short. The games were literally around 4 hours long. I beat it just under 4 hours, and I take my time with games. If you know me, I usually get on a new game, play for a couple hours, and I get off. I beat this game in 2.5 sittings. I'm not gonna lie, like I paid $40 for it. In the States it's 30. I live in Canada, so it's an extra $10. I did feel kind of ripped off. I felt like the story at the end kind of fell flat, and it didn't have a lot of substance to it. So, and it was kind of just over out of nowhere. Um, and the game lacked direction at some points. It didn't have a lot of substance. So basically, the game starts off pretty good. It has a good setting. The middle is okay, and then near the end, not even near the end, it just kind of it doesn't have anything different than, let's say, Until Dawn or other horror games that have came out. So the one thing that really ticked me off in this game is that they didn't really focus on the horror aspect of the game, which is supposed to be that's what the game's supposed to be about. It's the horror genre. So the game kind of falls when you realize that that aspect of the game is kind of in the background, and you're more focused on like surviving within humans. So basically, what I'm saying is that there's pirates in this game, and spoiler alert if you haven't played it, it is about pirates somewhat, and it becomes like a cat and mouse type game where the horror aspect of the game and the spiritual side and like the ghost or whatever it may be, you don't really get to find out. Like I said, the story falls short even when after one playthrough. Maybe have to play through more than once, but it just that's kind of in the background, and you have this story where now it's like a cat and mouse game, and it just doesn't focus on the horror too much, which was a letdown. Like, I'm not scared of many things, especially video games, but I maybe jumped once in this game. It obviously there's definitely technical issues. I feel like this game was kind of rushed. They only had, like I said, the game's only 3 or 4 hours long. So within that 3 or 4 hours, you'll start noticing technical problems with the graphics. The movement's kind of weird and jagged. It kind of moves weird when you're actually moving the controller. It takes a few seconds for you to catch up. So there is some frame rate issues and graphical issues, but besides that, it's not overbearing. There is times where you think you press a button at the same time to interact, and it doesn't actually work, even though you pressed it. So that's kind of like the game catching up to your movement. So that can be annoying. But luckily, this game isn't very long, so it doesn't get very aggravating, I guess. But that is kind of messed up, and it's kind of weird how that happened in the game. They didn't fix it. I don't know if there's updates. But besides that, like I said, game really isn't that scary, even for a person that plays a bunch of horror games. It's more of like I said, horror is kind of in the background. It becomes more of an action adventure game, and so it's kind of misleading in my opinion, especially if you watch the trailer. Um, Super short, no payoff. There is some good moments in the game where you're underwater and you're actually in the ship. The story, like I said, that they don't really explain too much. There's some type of, I don't know. There's like a there's like this mysterious gas that gets on the ship in the 40s during World War II or something, and it stays on the ship. People start going crazy, start killing everybody, and you start seeing things. It's literally just that mix in with these pirates, like I said in the game. I won't ruin the ending, but there's not much to it. It's one of those games where you're just kind of like, oh, that's it. and you're left wondering like, what was the point? Like, I wish they would have focused on a game like this more, with the story and like made it longer. But their focus isn't really that. It's an anthology, so there's gonna be more. I just hope the next few games are actually longer and they focus on the horror aspect more, and take it a bit slower, I guess, and don't make the game about just people. If there's a supernatural element, then bring in that supernatural element and make it your main focus. Don't make it this other game that isn't really doesn't make sense why it's in the game in the first place. It's very misleading, and for a game that's so short, it shouldn't be that misleading. Um, so yeah, like, is it a bad game? No. Is it worth $40? I don't think so. Like I said, in the States it's 30, maybe 30 at best, $20, something like that. Um, Sit down for a few hours, probably won't get scared too much. Like, Until Dawn was, like I said, like an 8 out of 10. It was almost great. And it had that horror aspect of it that they focused on that just as much as everything else. So it was a very good balance, and they focused on that a lot more, especially during the end. This one they don't, so I'm not sure why they did that. But if I were to rate this out of 10, I'd maybe at best give it a 6 out of 10, 5.5 or a 6. It's about average. Um, I wouldn't say pay full price for this game. Wait till it's cheaper on PSN or Xbox Live or wherever you play games on PC. Maybe borrow from a friend. I just hope they fix the mistakes they had in this game into the next few games in this anthology, and I think it'll be a lot better. So if you're looking for a scary game, maybe play the new Blair Witch. I haven't played Blair Witch yet. I have an Xbox One. I'm barely on it. Maybe I'll play that next. I heard that's not the best either. It's about just as short. Although I do think that will be scarier because they focus on that more. So if you liked Until Dawn, this may not be what you're looking for right after. Unfortunately, I thought it would be just as good, but I guess it kind of wasn't. Fell short, not only with the length of the game, but like a lot of other things. But like I said, it's not a terrible game. Graphically, it's still a solid game. Gameplay wise, it's not much different from Until Dawn, besides the technical problems. And so yeah, let me know what you think if you played it. I'm sure there's other people that feel the same way. So I'd give it maybe a 6 out of 10. Not too crazy about it. So yeah, that's my review. Peace out.